Hello everyone, ex-Watchtower Bethelite here, and we're gonna just keep it all the way 100 here. Jehovah's Witnesses all around the world outside of America expect people to put their lives on the line for Watchtower. And South Korea, a lot of people don't know this, but in South Korea, pretty much every JW male ends up in jail because of, Watchtower policies. You got people in other countries that have been killed over Watchtower policies. In Russia, Russia government says, hey, this preaching work is coming to a stop and y'all ain't meeting no more. And in Russia, you got people going to prison over it. You got Jehovah's Witnesses expecting people in Russia to put their lives on the risk and go out anyway. Well, COVID-19 put a stop to all that in America. You don't have Jehovah's Witnesses out knocking on doors. The preaching work came to a stop. The same activities that for the most part people are dying over in other countries because they refuse to stop doing them. The same activities that people are going to prison over because they refuse to stop doing them in other countries. In America, you got COVID-19 put a stop to it. In America, you're not going to have people, this is where the governing body is located. Anywhere else, they're going to expect people to die for the preaching work. In America, where the governing body is located, they don't even really go out and service like that, let alone people are in the house. People are watching their meetings on apps. You know what I mean? Why couldn't the people in Russia just, when all this stuff started to kick off, why couldn't the people in Russia just watch their meeting on an app? Stay home. Why couldn't they do it? They're in danger also. I watched video where supposedly they were getting tortured and everything else. Why couldn't they do the exact same thing? Why can't people in other countries do the exact same thing that Jehovah's Witnesses in America closer to the governing body are doing? And that's staying their asses home. You got the whole Bethel on lockdown. They ain't even leaving their rooms. Now, you explain to me, this is neither here nor there, but you explain to me how these people are getting along at Bethel. You in this little room and you on lockdown and you can't go nowhere. You in this little room with somebody else and you on lockdown and you can't go nowhere. People don't get along at Bethel as it is. I don't know how in the world they're managing right now with everybody on lockdown and your roommate is right in your face. You can't go nowhere to get away from them. You can't go nowhere to get away from anybody. When I was at Bethel, when I was at Watchtower, I like to find a nice quiet place to just be by myself sometimes. And then you had so many other Bethelites looking for the same thing that it was really hard to find. There's places where you can go on the roof and you can kind of look over and just sit and just be by yourself for a minute. Well, I would go on the roof in the morning and other people are freaking there. Other people are trying to do the same thing. Other people are trying to get away from people and get some peace quiet for a second. Well, if Bethelites can't freaking leave, and I'm primarily thinking about Watchtower. Brooklyn, I don't know the layout as well, but at Watchtower at the farm, there ain't nothing around you that's not owned by Watchtower. You need to be able to get away from time to time. And you got people that are on lockdown at Bethel I don't know how they're surviving. They have to be able to come out the rooms because they got to be able to eat and things like that. But the Bethel family in God's house, God's household, is staying they asses home. Or in Bethel's case, staying they asses together, smushed together, two roommates in little rooms. They staying home. Everywhere else, people are expected to die over this teaching. In America, when the governors say, hey, we putting a stop to these meetings, nobody's meeting over 10 people, none of this. Watchtower says, you know, how high do you want us to jump here? Because, you know, we don't want no problems. The governing body is not directly going to be dealing with any major problems. The governing body aren't directly going to be martyrs in regards to anything. They're not going against the government or the governors or anybody in regards to this COVID-19 thing. You would think, you know, all the publicity in the world, they would get all the publicity in the world if they just kept on preaching. You know, you saw Jehovah's Witnesses out. COVID-19, they're not afraid. They're still out. Governing body members out, leading the charge. And no one gets sick because they've, quote unquote, got God's spirit, right? That's what's supposed to happen. Nobody's supposed to get sick because you got God's spirit. We'd be out in service and people would, you know, pray beforehand, and they would think, well, that's the reason why they didn't get bit by dogs and everything else. Supposedly, praying before going out in service is supposed to protect you. So why aren't people doing that? The COVID-19 exposes Jehovah's Witnesses and Watchtower for, you know, what it is. It throws people under the bus in other countries. But here in America, you're not going to have, you know, people really putting themselves out there like that. I mean, you got people in other countries in prison right now, locked up right now, because they refuse to stop preaching or, you know, spreading Watchtower doctrine, I would rather say, other than preaching, passing out Watchtowers and whatnot, and going to meetings and whatnot. And in America, it has all come to a freaking halt. They're all sitting at home on apps. Comment down below, explain to me, instead of going to prison and all these other things, why couldn't everybody else be at home on their app? I mean, I can understand being at home on your app instead of meeting together. But wait a minute, the preaching work, that's supposed to be the most important thing there is. And they stopped. They stopped. They ain't out knocking on doors, passing out them magazines. They stopped. They stopped, either because they're really afraid of this virus and they don't think they have Jehovah's Spirit, or God ain't going to keep them from getting this virus while they're out preaching. They either don't think that God's going to protect them, or they're afraid of the secular government that's telling them, hey, y'all can't be meeting in these large groups. One or the other. They're afraid of one or the other. And I don't think the governing body would have been out preaching anyway. So they're probably more so afraid of the government and the backlash. They don't want to deal with that. They're not going to want to deal with that. So you got everybody else in the world expected to put their lives on the line and die and everything else. But You got all the Jehovah's Witnesses in America staying their asses home, trying to stay away from this COVID-19. Like, it doesn't compute to me. Why couldn't everybody else be on their apps and just stay home if their lives were on the line? Why can't everybody else just stay home? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. You had Jesus go out and touch a leper. Somebody that was sick, he went out and physically touched them, saying, I want to, he wants to help them and things like that. You ain't got Jehovah's Witnesses out here doing nothing for people with COVID-19 or anything like that. Them Jehovah's Witnesses ain't nowhere near no hospital. They stay in their behinds home. Didn't Jesus say you're going to do greater things than him? Well, COVID-19, could you imagine Jesus and the apostles and disciples all staying home? Oh, man, they sick out there. They got all them lepers out there. I ain't going over there. No, it wouldn't even make any sense for anything to put a stop to something God wants done. God would send prophets to go speak to people, giving them news that could very well get the prophet killed. Like, you know what I mean? People putting their lives on the line has never been an issue until something happens in America where the governing body is, and they not trying to have no problems. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. X-Wall killed Bethelite. Signing out.